The next topic would be the dying process and the near-death phenomena. What happens during the dying process?
That is such an important question, and particularly for us now. Don't know if you remember, but there used to be the religious view. You went to heaven, and there was the reductionist view. All switches on off and consciousness goes. Well, the actual view is something like this. You sometimes get a warning that you're going to die, a premonition. It's usually about a fortnight before. On some, it can be actually at the time of death. And you then are warned that you're going to die. Let's say that you have cancer and you're going to the hospice. Now we can talk about the dying process proper. About 2 weeks before you die, you have deathbed visitors. No, I don't mean the family. I mean, these are dead members of the family that come to meet you, your mum, your dad. It's worthwhile when you are coming up to die, just wondering who will meet you, because when they come, you'll know that you're getting very close to the actual death itself. They're in the room, they're three-dimensional, they talk to you, you recognize them, they're real people. But one interesting thing is a lot of them aren't as old as when they die. In other words, they're much more in the prime of life. And if they've had an injury, say an arm amputated, they come back with 2 arms. So in other words, it's much more the ideal of the person than how they actually were when they left. So you can talk to them and they will say to you, I will come back on Tuesday to take you and you can come with us. And you can say, no, you can't come back on Tuesday because my son is coming from America and he won't be here till Wednesday. So they'll say, okay, they'll wait a day. So remember, you can negotiate a bit. And as you get closer to death, then sometimes, in some people, not everyone, they will go into an area of love and light. It's amazing. There are spiritual beings there, they say. The feelings of love are very strong, and quite often you're there with one of your dead relatives, and then you come back into the hospice. So this is just a way of showing you that what it's going to be like when you die. And then when you come back, you will in fact come up to the death point itself. Some people who've been in a nursing home and have been demented for 3 years, never recognized their family, just before death, terminal lucidity, it's called, will in fact come into full consciousness with a normally functioning brain, apparently, greet their relatives, say how nice it is to see them, and then say goodbye, and then lie back and die, even if they've had strokes and not moved. So this is now being investigated by science. And I think it's going to show us that mind, in fact, can be outside the brain. And then some people have a deathbed coincidence. That means they go and visit a friend who they probably hoped to see before they went. And what the friend experiences depends on whether it's day or night. If it's day, they have a feeling, or they can have a push, something like that. If it's night, then they will see the person coming towards them, and they will quite often give them a message, say, "You're okay." We're okay. And they will then go further on in the dying process. And sometimes they transform with a white spiritual light around them. So it's a most interesting process. And then the dying person goes on through the actual death process itself. Now, there are many things which happen in the deathbed scene, but that is actually just the deathbed process, just what you're going to experience when you die.
So if such circumstances take a part in how you feel or live through this phenomenon, what about a religious affiliation or faith? Is this also dependent for the dying person and on how you feel it?
And let me not run down religious faith at all, because what we've found is people who pray, people who meditate, people that have a religious faith tend to have a better death than those who don't. So yeah, keep your religious faith, but it's not going to be the whole thing. It's only going to be part of it, because what will happen is that as the dying process starts, particularly if you're a reductionist and say all switches are being turned off, and you'll find they're not, and you find that you're in peace and joy and love. And so you talk to your relatives and say, we had one person who said, come on, get on with it, because she realized that so she believed nothing was going to happen, it will. And the process goes on independently of what you think. So it's a process which is built into you. And the fact that you think that horned devils are going to come and pick you up and take you to hell is rubbish. That never happens. What does happen is that you go into love and light. And it's a okay process. Now, here's what I want everybody to remember. And that is, don't be afraid. The evidence is that you go into love and light. And the people who are most frightened are those who won't give things up, like their family relationships. Who's going to look after the children? Who's going to look after my mother? You know, all that sort of thing. Now, you have to give that up completely. It's really called cleaning. One person we had said, who's going to look after my little car when I die? Well, yeah, okay. I think she meant her daughter, really. But if you can give all that up and be curious. So I'd like all your listeners to have written on their hearts, be curious, so that they can remember this when they die, because you can't be curious and afraid. So it's very important. Look forward to what's happening and you'll be fine.
Well, thank you very much, Peter.